We are back to La Verdad Sin Filtro podcast once again. Here, I'm always in good company, man. I'm always here with Anthony Arias and Pastor Misael, Pastor Angel Castro.
Bless.
Yes, we've been having so much fun with you guys, man, and we've been learning a lot from you guys.
Amen.
Thank you for having us.
Please, yes. Go subscribe to their channel, man. Angel Castro, Pastor Misael. Please, you guys are bringing so much wisdom and knowledge, man. And we're getting a lot of messages, man. And it's been a blessing. And today we also are adding Richie Rivera. Yes.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yes. From Jersey.
I'm originally from Jersey. Now I live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
We get topics, man, every day. We get different topics, and we try to talk about it, and what better way to talk about it with men of God, anointed God, guys like you guys, and there's I want to first start asking everyone, which ministry has impacted your ministry? Richie. Like a minister, it could be big dog.
I have a quite a bit of good amount of them, not because they're here, but Angel and Misael. They've seen me grow up since I was young, man. Youth camps and all the other stuff, being from the same organization, as you guys know, from the Latin American Council. Big mentor for me is my uncle, Apostle Victor Sanabria, from New York, New Jersey. My pastors, now where I currently reside, where they currently go to, which is my pastor, Charles Almeida, and his wife, Pastor Reina Almeida. Through the trajectory of my life, especially the last 2 years, they've been a huge impact on my life. Pastor Hector Medina, I could go here forever.
You could go,
Pastor Hector Medina, he's an awesome voice, and just keep on going. And then you got your bigger preachers, which I'm a huge Steve Furtick guy. Man, just keep on going on, man.
What about you, Angel?
Yeah, on the personal level, I have first and foremost, my spiritual father, Jose Guzman. He when he's just only a phone call or text away, my man would drop anything that he's doing just to get to where you're at. He's been awesome, and whatnot. I also have this, 3 other pastors as well. I have pastor out in Florida, man. He's been a blessing. Pastor Jesus Calavieco, that guy. Shout out to him. He's awesome. Pastor Mata from Union City. These are men that I go to. Like, I'll call in if I need some advice. And Pastor Glenn Harvey from Georgia. These are like 4 men that I have to give a shout out to. And from like Richie said, bigger level. The Furdicks, the Todds, the Daniels, the Jakes. These are just men that I just look up to and whatnot.
That's great, Pastor Misael. And there's a reason why I'm asking you guys this, because we're going to get into the topic.
Pues, yo podría decir que mi mayor inspiración ha sido mi mamá. Mi mamá nunca ha sido una mujer de fama, pero en ella yo he visto integridad y esos valores cristianos de fe lo aprendí de ella. Y pues ella es la persona que yo más admiro dentro del ministerio.
Wow,
man, that's beautiful.
I'm glad that other ministers have impacted your ministry. Now, I want to ask each of you guys.
Wait, what about you?
Oh, me? All my pastors. Yeah, no, that's good. All my pastors. And I was in a church that was part of a council. So they when one retires or one leaves, they put someone else. And all of them, and I know them by name: Miguel Guerra, Wilson Alvarez, Pablo Arenas, Jose Santiago.
Yeah,
they're all impacting my life because I learned everything from them. And now my pastors in Goshen, Ronald and Wendy Orquizas. But now I want to ask you guys a question: if you would have found out that they failed in whatever aspect in their ministry, would you stop looking up to them?
For me, and I forgot to mention 3 other people. My father, may he rest in peace.
I forgot some people too.
He birthed me into the gospel. And then my other pastor, Rafael Cueva, not junior, that's Nuni, but his father. This man was the one who showed me like prayer, fasting, reading the Bible, preparando un bosquejo. That man was vital. Y el pastor Rubén Sánchez, que fue el instrumento que Dios usó para ungirme como en el ministerio. But let me, just to answer your question, I think for me, to answer that question, it would be more on what state of my life I was in. And I say that because if I'm coming from a religious mentality like I grew up with, no. You know, because the moment you fail, that's it. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to help. Yeah. You know, but now that I'm more of a mentality of restoration and mercy and grace and kingdom, I will still go to you. You know, it really doesn't matter. And I know this I can talk about because one of the things he told me before he passed away in 2008 was my father. My father was a pastor for a lot of years. And unfortunately, you know, he stepped out of marriage. And my mom and him they divorced. You know, the pastorship broke up. The church had to be passed on to another pastor in the council, that council that I was in, you know, back in the days. And, but I felt like he took his mistakes and he used it. It's like the curse actually was the blessing. Because he would tell me, make sure you don't make the same mistakes I made. Tratan su madre, su esposa como yo no pude tratar. Like, it was, so for me, it was real life. It was like, and I saw God restore him. Because when he relocated to Florida and then to Texas, he opened up 2 more churches and 2 more radio stations. So, literalmente, la gloria postrera fue mucho mayor que la primera.
Amen.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's more, en qué estado en mi vida yo estaba.
That's good.
Yeah, before I go any further, 2 people I got to mention as well. Obviously, my father, Pastor Richard Rivera, and then my big bro, Edgar J. Cruz. That guy literally saved my life. Going back with the question, now, especially with what I've been through in my life, knowing that I've needed the extension of grace, and to see it from the place of perspective of that we all fail, I would still follow them, because a person isn't really determined by the mistake they made. It's by the calling over their life. Wow. I mean, I love that. If, like you were saying, everybody has a story. Everybody has messed up in a certain way. And what's unfortunate especially in the more conservative churches is that we'll applaud them and we'll invite them to our services, but until we see the dark side of them, they're no longer a man and woman of God. And that's unfortunate that we have that vision that they're only good for us until what they could do for us is done. So, of course, I would still follow them.
Pastor Misael.
Yo pienso que sería una hipocresía, pero excesiva, si tú solamente admiras a alguien perfecto, porque la perfección solamente existe en Dios. Y Dios decidió hacerse hombre para enseñarnos a nosotros los elementos de la humildad. Entonces yo admiro a mi madre porque a ella yo la conozco desde que tengo uso de razón. Y yo he visto sus altas y he visto sus bajas. Y eso es lo que me hace admirarla. Saber que sus caídas solamente fueron oportunidades para su levantamiento. Así que yo a un ministro que se haga o que se refleje perfecto, no tiene mi admiración en lo absoluto. Porque ¿cómo me va a ministrar a mí siendo yo imperfecto? Yo necesito a alguien que meta la mano en el lodo y aprenda a sacarme del lodo en que yo me he metido.
And I think that's what Jesus told Peter when he was talking about, you know, your faith is gonna fail. But I'm praying for you.
I'm praying for you
or Satan is trying to, you know,
zarandearlo como a trigo.
Yes. And your faith is going to fail, but you know what? You're going to recover, but with a purpose. Go back to your brothers. And we have to understand, and where I want to get to, because this is a problem nowadays. And I love what you said, Angel, about the mentality, the conservative mentality. Of before and after, you were in a conservative state of mind where if you sinned, you're no longer part of my group, right? I mean that's what basically we were taught. If you failed, that's it. You're done. You're cooked, right? Now, the question is, man, I'm gonna go at it because
this is a very touchy topic, but it has to be talked about. Yeah.
So, is there life in ministry after divorce? We've seen a lot of breakups. We've seen a lot of ministers. We're not talking about in the low level. We're talking the high level. With big platforms. And that's why I asked each of you guys, who was the person, or and what would happen if you see that person, in their low rock, when they hit rock bottom. Now, so is there, and I'm talking to these ministers here, is there life in ministry? Come on. Are you still called? Are you still called? Do I still have a calling as a pastor, as an evangelist?
Well, to answer that question, is this it? Here we go. It depends on, again, like I told you, for me, it was the mentality or the stage of my life I was in. For me, that question is yes, but for other people, is no, depending on what type of dogma and doctrine they rock with.
All right, Angel, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How were you treated?
All right, so here we go. So for those of you who don't know, and again, you can't talk about something you have not been healed. Lo voy a decir otra vez. Tú no puedes hablar de algo que usted no ha sido sanado. See, if you have not been healed from something, don't talk about it yet, because you're going to come out of a place of pain and not of peace.
Yes. This is the guy.
So and if things come out of a place of, si algo sale a través de un momento de dolor, va a salir mal. Yeah. Okay? So yo me casé muy temprano. Okay? Y, en ese momento que yo me había casado, mi primer matrimonio, vamos a hablar claro, fue un error que cometí, no que había caído antes, es que yo no estaba preparado para lo que era la vida de matrimonio. Y pues estaba casado por 3 años y después hubo un divorcio. Y tengo que hablar, not too much, because yo tengo que cubrir la que es la madre de mi hijo también, okay? She's a great mother, and we have a good co-parenting relationship, and so, but I wasn't ready for it, Now, at the moment that happened, I was preaching a lot. Doors were opened. People will call me to preach at a lot of events. The moment I got divorced, those doors closed, because you have a stain, right? Wow. And if you look at the word stain, right? A stain is it's a mark that's not removable. Come on. Right? Es una marca que no se puede remover, de acuerdo a lo que dice el hombre, porque la gracia de Dios puede remover cualquier error y don't make me want to preach up in here, right? But at the end of the day, doors did close. But I'm going to tell you but then those doors closed, but God was taking me to a whole new other level. But I'm going to tell you when doors started to close again. When I got remarried. Oh. Porque vamos a hablar claro.
Because now you're not divorced. You're remarried.
No.
Un problema doble.
Sí, no, entonces, de acuerdo a doctrinas y dogmas de hombres, tú eres un recasado y los recasados aquí no se permiten. So for me, muchas puertas se cerraron. Pero le doy gracias al Señor porque las puertas que se cerraron, si se cerró una puerta, se abrieron 10. Come on. But for me personally, doors did close and people did not look at me the same way to today. Mm-hmm. Like they have good relationship with me. And they'll call me for advice, but they won't invite me to their church.
Wow.
What did you do to cope with that?
Me, I understand.
What was your response?
At first of all, I was hurt.
¿Te afectó?
I was hurt. I cried. I was like, I did everything right by the book, for me not to be, for me to be treated this way. But then I understood something. Holy Spirit ministered to me. He said, "No lo tomes personal. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with their
system
mentality." Because, man, let me tell you this. So Peter, he slipped up, right? And the Bible says that after Jesus died, y después resucitó, he went to look for him. And he found them in the same place he took them out of. That's love. Yeah. Él no dijo, 6 meses de disciplina. me fallaste. No, él dijo, me llama, ahora vete pastorea. Now, I'm not saying that after you go sing, go pastor, I go pastor right now, but it was just saying that he was saying that like your mistake doesn't define who you are.
I love that.
I
love it. And one of the things that comes to me when we go through this, it actually reveals how other people treat us in our time of need or our time of like being very low. It reveals to me at least what they were looking at. So they weren't asking you to preach or the invitation because of who you were.
Come on.
You understand me? They just said, okay, and come on, Richard, you got to elaborate on that. Why is that?
Because we are in a society and a culture, especially the kingdom culture, that it's what you could give me now.
Yes.
And that's, like I said, he's personally helped me through the. I mean, when I tell you personally, this is my go-to guy when it comes. We had similar situations. March of last year, so going on 10 months, I was officially divorced from my ex-wife. Like I said, I'm not here to bash her, here to bring anybody down. I'm not here to say my entire story. She is the mother of my children. At the end of the day, she is a soul. She is a daughter of God. What I've learned from it was the fact that I needed to realize that my identity was not tied to her.
Come on.
Who I am in God, who I've been called to do, that determine if I get valued by her, if she gives me an applause, if she's happy with me. I had to understand that my calling was before I was even born.
Yeah.
Before I was married, before I was divorced. So what's happening is I'm part of a good organization now. I just started working with the Assemblies of God, and it's unfortunate that these big organizations, which you got to see both sides of the coins. Obviously they verify if you are divorced, your history, but I feel like everybody's scenario is different.
Right.
Not
right.
everybody that's divorced
Right.
were because they did the infidelity or because they did these choices. You have to see everybody's situation. There's people that have great hearts, that are great people, but unfortunately we're in horrible situations.
Correct.
That's what it comes down to.
That's
And at the end of the day, like Angel was saying, at the time, I got married when I was 21. I remember sitting in my mom's room, and she's telling me, hey, you're kind of young for this, but my mentality was, we've already been together. What else is there to do? We've been together for so long. We've done all these events together. Let's just go ahead and get married. But we didn't see it from the maturity that needs to happen, was that you change. You change over the year. The people that you're at the age 19 is not the person you're at the age 25.
Come on. That's so true.
And what's happening is that people are seeing marriage as just a piece of paper nowadays. You're going into covenant with another person. There's two different worlds that are connecting to become one. And if you're not ready to do that, unfortunately, it comes to a place where, divorce does happen. What we have to do as a church is that it does happen, but it doesn't end there. You can still be called. I believe you still are called, even though you're divorced.
You know what's scary, Pastor? That I believe that there's a lot of people in a marriage that they want out.
Oh, of course. Look how religious I was.
I was going to go to that. I was going to go to that.
I told I was checked out on my marriage years before. We tried to make it happen because we had kids. My number one thought was, I can't get divorced, not because people are going to look down on me, but they're going to look down on my parents.
That's good.
Pastor Richie and Pastor Pedicita's son got divorced. He couldn't do it.
That's tough.
That was literally my mentality.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to bring down on them. So I stayed stuck in a situation where should have ended years ago.
Right.
And because I wanted the perspective of people to stay the same. And if I'm here to tell anybody anything, I'm going to do what Misa said before.
Where's my camera?
That's your camera right
there.
Arresi enviado.
At the end of the day, when it comes to you and your perspective and how you're supposed to be seen, is all about God. I don't care what people think about me.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, so now you've extended a marriage. Now you've had kids. Now you're in a broken home where kids have to live
in a broken home,
in a place because you were too ignorant, too selfish to end something that should have ended a long time ago.
And Pastor, I'm really serious about this. I am so scared of how many people are in marriage, and I'm talking about in church folks. I'm talking about pastors. I'm talking about bishops. I'm talking about evangelists. I'm talking about prophets. I'm talking about people that are in marriage, and they want out it's not functioning. They're in a broken marriage. They're in a broken home, but they're still hanging to dear life because of what they think other people are thinking, because the label that they're gonna put.
Lo que pasa es que la gente vive asociada y apegada a la percepción de los demás. Y eso se llama falta de identidad. Porque yo no soy lo que tú opinas de mí.
That's it.
Si tú piensas que yo soy un buen o un mal predicador, a mí no me importa. Porque eso a mí no me añade ni me suma a los valores que yo tengo como persona. Tristemente, hay organizaciones, hay sistemas dogmáticos de personas que no leen la Biblia y que no estudian la palabra del Señor. Porque las cosas de índole personal, cuando se habla de un estatus marital, se tienen que pasar por la Biblia. Y todos los casos son diferentes. Ningún matrimonio puede subsistir cuando hay violencia doméstica. Dios no creó a ninguna mujer ni a ningún hombre para andar aguantando golpes. Y hay pastores.
But religion will tell you to stay in there.
No.
Ahora pelea la batalla.
Hay pastores.
Pray,
hay predicadores. Hay evangelistas.
Suelta.
Que van con su mujer al altar y la mujer hipócrita como Zafira. ¿Ustedes conocen esa historia? Como Zafira, que ella no debió nunca de presentarse, pero como estaba en una relación abusiva, murió juntamente con su marido cuando ella debió de permanecer viva y no seguir a un mediocre, patán, cretino e hijo del diablo. Entonces, hey, si tu marido te está golpeando, escucha lo que te voy a decir. Llámale a la policía.
Mételo preso.
Díceselo al pastor y sal corriendo. Entonces, hay relaciones que se iniciaron desde la perspectiva de la inmadurez, desde la perspectiva de lo que hablamos en el episodio anterior. Nos casamos por obligación, nos casamos porque tenemos mucho tiempo, nos casamos por un sinnúmero de cosas que realmente se debió de darle un poco de tiempo. Ahora, señores, la gente comete errores. Hay ocasiones que tuve estos matrimonios perfectos. Ellos no son perfectos, están llenos de problemas y yo pienso que hay vida, claro que sí, hay vida después de un divorcio. Hay ministros que se han reivindicado porque han sucedido cosas que se escapan de nuestro conocimiento. Hubo infidelidad, hubo falta de comunicación, hubo maltrato, hubo golpes de la mujer al hombre o del hombre a la mujer. Entonces, para que se siga viviendo en un infierno, es mejor vivir en un cielo.
You know why a lot of, and I'm going back to, I know a lot of people, I know a lot of ministers, leaders that are in that kind of environment because of the bad recommendations of their leaders. And this is the main problem, because once you, and don't forget, church is made up of different families. And if your church is made up of broken marriages, broken families, man, that's a lot of work for you to do as a pastor. And I love what Pastor Misael said. You know, we have to stop living our lives under an opinion of someone else.
Porque lo que está pasando es que tú estás viviendo en prisiones de pensamientos de otras gente, ¿verdad? Si hay algo que yo he aprendido en mi trayectoria de divorcio y recasamiento es, con todo respeto, a mí no me importa lo que la gente dice. De verdad, porque al fin y al cabo del día, yo estoy contento con mi matrimonio, con mis hijos. I'm happy. And I'm not going to let you... I'm going to tell you why people are stuck in the past. Because they themselves are miserable. So since they see you happy, they want you to accompany them in their misery.
They want you to become what they are.
Pero te voy a decir esto, ¿ok? Esto lo tengo que decir. Hay gente que se divorcian porque ya tienen otro pendiente, ¿ok? Y tenemos que tener cuidado con él. Cuando yo me recasé otra vez, ¿sabe cuántos años pasaron? 8. Eso no fue 2 años, un año después o 6 meses después. A mí me tomó tiempo porque yo dije, no voy a repetir el mismo error otra vez. Y me tomé 8 años de una restauración, de reflexión, de autoanálisis, oración, o sea, todo eso. Para que ahora cuando yo me recasé otra vez, te voy a decir algo. Yo tuve 35 años. 24 years old versus 35 years old. 11 years old. Yeah, later, I'm wiser. Yeah. I'm more mature. So, yo lo que le estoy diciendo a la gente es que hay gente que están apurados de casarse, ¿verdad? Especialmente, esto va a sonar, especialmente a las mujeres. Te voy a decir por qué. Que they say, my biological clock is running out. So I have to have kids before this certain type of age. So they rush into things that they shouldn't be rushing into.
So, obviously, I didn't get married to stay single. My goal one day to get married. I haven't been blessed yet, like Pastor Angel yet. You know that is the plan. But I'll be damned if it happens a second time.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Now,
so what I've been doing is, and it's unfortunate that even the people, you see people get remarried and you see it happen a second time because they didn't learn from what happened from at the beginning, and now you have a second marriage, a second woman, a second spouse that is dealing with the negligence that you didn't deal with from the beginning. So my goal is now, how long it takes, if it takes the 8 years like Pastor Angel, but what can I do so that when it does happen again, I'm complete as an individual?
Come on.
Because what happens is a spouse is not a completion, it's a complement.
Yes.
If you need a spouse to complete you, it's never going to work. It's never going to work because of the day that she's not whole, then you're not whole.
Then you're not, yeah.
I'm this
That's
next
good.
years of process. I'm finding, how can I complete myself financially, spiritually, physically, mentally. Mentally is huge, especially now the days that we're living in. Now we're living with not only you have to have a family, but now you got to deal in the middle of a pandemic. Like you have to be you have to, and which I pray in the name of Jesus we get out of that soon. Yeah. Your mentality has to be at a place where you're whole, because like I said, I am damned that's going to happen a second time, because and people are okay with that, getting married 2 or 3, 4 times. Obviously there's people have different situations, but if you as an individual can do everything that you can do to make yourself complete and add to the cause and not take away, then take this time and mature and get wise and do it.
You know what? Something that my wife always says. When she says, "Why would you treat something different the same?" Mm-hmm. ¿Por qué vas a tratar algo, diferente igual? Like there are people who are doing. I'm going to piggyback off that. You're doing the same things you did in your first relationship, in your first marriage. You haven't learned. You haven't matured.
It's not good.
Tú no has madurado, tú no has crecido. Entonces, si no has madurado, crecido, aguántate. Aguántate.
So Pastor, I want to, for those right now that they did get out of the marriage because of whatever situation, then what? What the then what for you guys? What did you guys do?
I mean,
what did you guys do?
First and foremost, being a son of God, I am an advocate of restoration.
Amen.
Come on. That's
Divorce was not my first resort.
Absolutely.
I did not want it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's something that had to happen, and it did happen. Now that we're at that place, okay, there's nothing you can do about it. The papers are done. You're divorced unless God does something else. You can't stay stuck at that. Life goes on. So the people that are listening to me that are in that place, like go piggyback at what I just said, build yourself. Take this time to be able to complete yourself as a person. I'm telling you, like there's nothing better than that. To know that, and it may sound wrong, but if I get into another relationship, and God forbid it doesn't work out.
And I think more than half of the people that go through that's what they do.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they feel like they feel incomplete. They need to come back home to something warm in bed.
You have to be complete as an individual.
Hay vida después de un divorcio.
Yeah.
Y hay un llamado. Te vas a mover en los pensamientos del hombre, o te vas a mover en la palabra que Dios te dio antes de la fundación. I gotta say this again. Are you going to move under the thoughts of men, or are you going to move in the word God gave you before the foundations of this world? If God called you to be whatever type of minister, you have to move and sustain yourself. Sosténgate en la palabra que Dios te dio. Pero déjame decirte algo. hay 3 tipos de amores. Dios dice, amas a Dios sobre todas las cosas. Ámate a ti mismo y ama a tu prójimo. You know what was my issue? I love God, but I didn't know how to love myself.
Come on.
So since I didn't know how to love myself, I was relying on the love of someone else until that person failed me. You know? So you cannot love someone if you don't love yourself. And you can't love yourself if you don't love God. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I gente que they have a lot of issues with self-esteem and love and self-love and, you know, all this stuff. And then están dependiendo del amor de otro. Pero para volver en lo que estoy diciendo, there is life after ministry. After divorce in ministry. It all depends on, are you going to move on the thoughts of men, or are you going to move in the word God gave you?
And just for closing, I'm going to give everybody the last word. Pastor Misael, what do you advise these pastors now? How they should be handling ministers? Because I think there's a bad handling problem.
Yes.
Mira, yo pienso, yo como pastor al fin, trato de regirme y de educar la iglesia y administrar la iglesia de acuerdo con la palabra de Dios. Yo no tengo otra opción. Es allí donde nace todo. Número 1. La Biblia dice que por sus frutos serán conocidos.
Yeah. Come on.
So, hay personas, y yo estoy de acuerdo con lo que Ángel dijo anteriormente, que después de un divorcio ellos no están capacitados para ministrar. Por el simple hecho de que tienen que atravesar por un momento de sanidad, un momento de restauración, y a veces ven el ministerio como un entretenimiento, porque como ya, o una manera de salida, no lo hacen desde un corazón de sanidad, sino desde un corazón que necesito estar ocupado, porque mientras más ocupado, menos preocupado. Entonces, tienen un problema que no han resuelto en su interior. Entonces, tú te das cuenta, su tiempo para ministrar no es efectivo, porque está saliendo desde un lugar quebrado, roto, llorando. Entonces, yo pienso que se necesita ese tiempo de restauración. Ahora, no es que yo quiera salir a la defensa, pero nosotros no podemos ser hipócritas. Porque el hecho de que este segmento se llame una mancha dentro del ministerio y los otros ministros que andan robando dinero y los otros ministros que golpean a sus hijos, que son mentirosos, que tienen una doble vida, ¿qué vamos a hacer con ellos? Entonces, el único problema solamente lo vamos a tomar con aquel que está ministrando la palabra de Dios con efectividad. Y Dios está fluyendo a través de ese instrumento por el hecho de que en su vida pasada tuvo una relación quebrada por asuntos que a ti no te importa. Wow. Entonces tú vas a tomar la Biblia para sacarla de contexto y hacer una doctrina personal y no has asimilado lo que dijo Jesús y lo que dijo el apóstol Pablo referente a estos temas. Estos temas tienen que tener alta discreción y tiene que ser tomado desde la perspectiva espiritual. Yo sí pienso que después de que una persona haya tomado un divorcio, obviamente yo no podría salir a predicar el sermón de Lázaro porque yo nunca me he muerto y nunca me han resucitado. En el caso mío, yo nunca he atravesado por un divorcio y le oro a Dios para que yo no lo atraviese, pero yo he pasado por problemas que han manchado mi vida espiritual, porque muchos no saben, pero mi esposa salió embarazada antes del matrimonio. Hace 15, 16 años atrás. Entonces, todos los ministros tienen una cola que le pisen. Perdón, todo el cristiano tiene una cola que le pise, porque aquí el que no tiene dinga tiene mandinga. Así que esto no se trata de tú aparentar ser perfecto, porque tú no eres perfecto. Porque todos nosotros en algún momento de nuestras vidas hemos caído, hemos fallado. Y para ello es que se necesita la sublime gracia.
Come on, that's right.
Y sabe lo que quiero añadir lo que dice el pastor, ¿verdad? ¿Sabe lo que pasa en el ámbito cristiano? Que queremos categorizar el pecado. we want to categorize what sin is bigger than the other one.
Weighs more than the other.
Yeah, so because you've been divorced, that's like, okay, whoa, right? But he just, el pastor mencionó otras cosas que otros ministros hacen, ¿entiendes? Y quiero añadir otro más. Cuando ¿sabes de que cuando yo pasé mi momento, ¿sabe cuándo fue la próxima vez? Y no estoy diciendo, esto no es mi recomendación. Cada proceso es diferente.
Claro.
A mí me tomó 2 años después de agarrar un micrófono y predicarlo otra vez. Yo todavía me congregaba, yo iba a la iglesia, pero yo no estaba sanado para bendecir a otros. I believe that God has healed us to heal. God has blessed us to bless. Y a mí me tomó 2 años para que Dios me restaurara. Pero ¿sabe cuál es el dilema de muchos ministros que han pasado este momento y necesitan un tiempo off? Not because you need time to recuperate mentally, emotionally, physically and spiritually. Es porque ellos no hacen nada más que predicar y esto es su negocio. This is their business. Yeah. So they take time off. They're not going to get ofrendas and offerings. They don't have nothing to fall on. Yeah.
O a cargar cajas para UPS.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that.
No, they're not going to do that. They would rather still go preach and get offerings instead of taking time off. And that's a problem. And that's a problem in ministry.
And I'll let you finish. I know you got more, but I want to say in that moment. And then, being that the fact that they need that income, they'll be ministering from a place and destroying other people.
Yes.
At the cost of other people because they need to put money in their pocket.
And I think that's the worst way to minister.
No, that is a horrible way to minister.
And I haven't got. I mean, when I went through my restaurant, I don't live in faith, and I don't like nobody who does it. I know other men are called to do that. God hasn't called me yet to do that, and whatnot. So I mean. But at that time, I still work in a school. I had my career, I had my job. So I wasn't like, oh my God, I have to stay and preach because I need money. No, I had my profession to do that. But I think about, yo pienso, pastor, en otros ministros que no hacen nada más que predicar. Y el momento que ellos dejan de predicar, el dinero no entra y los biles no son pagados. Man, take time for yourself and go do something else. Until you're able to minister to other people again.
Yeah.
¿Qué te digo? El rey David, Dios le prometió un reinado perpetuo. Escuchen esto, perpetuo. Dios, no el hombre. So, si tu llamado proviene de Dios, tu llamado será perpetuo. Ahora, a David se le prometió el reinado y Dios se lo cumplió. ¿Sabe lo que hizo David? Ustedes no han oído esto nunca, yo creo. David vio una mujer desnuda.
Wow.
Dime si tú vas a admirar al pastor David. Si todavía existirá la admiración, porque empezamos el podcast mencionando a las personas, ministros que nosotros admiramos, that we look up to. So, para el beneficio de los que aman a David, la vio desnuda y la mandó a buscar. ¿Saben con quién él la mandó a buscar? Con su equipo de trabajo. Y ninguno de los de su equipo de trabajo tuvo el valor de decirle, eso está mal.
Come on.
Porque hay mucha gente que tenemos a nuestro alrededor que nos aplaude, pero no nos llaman la atención. Entonces yo no necesito gente que se ría a todos mis chistes y que aplaudan a todas mis expresiones. Yo necesito a alguien que se me pare de frente y me diga lo que yo estoy haciendo mal. Entonces, le trajeron la mujer. ¿Sabe lo que hizo él? Saquen los niños, se acostó con ella. Tuvo relación sexual. Él se la disfrutó. A raíz de esto, ella sale encinta. Mira la mente satánica y maquiavélica del pastor de Israel, el rey David.
Yeah.
Él manda a buscar al marido de ella, que estaba en la guerra. Eso es una serie de Netflix, brother. Manda a buscar, y perdóname que esto es para cerrar, me estoy tomando mi tiempo, pero yo quiero que ustedes entiendan lo que dice la Biblia. Él manda a buscar al marido de ella, a su esposo.
Wow, y lo manda a matar.
Comparte con él, trata de emborracharlo para engañarlo, mandándolo a su casa para que se acueste con su mujer y que a raíz de esa relación, cuando la mujer comience a enseñar la barriga, él piense que ese es su hijo, cuando realmente él está viviendo en una falacia. Y Dios no puede permitir eso. Entonces, ¿qué sucede? Dios usa a Urías y él dice, yo no voy para mi casa a acostarme con mi mujer. ¿Quién te dijo? Yo amanezco frente del palacio. Así lo hizo. Entonces David, como no tenía otra opción, otra alternativa, ¿sabes lo que pensó él? Él pensó escribir una carta, una sentencia de muerte. Dime si todavía vamos a admirarlo. Vamos a pensar si todavía él tiene las calificaciones para que sea el pastor o el obispo del bendito movimiento. Porque el problema es que la gente mira las acciones de los demás, pero no miran las de ellos. ¿Entiendes? Porque todo el mundo quiere señalar el pecado ajeno, pero quieren celebrar el pecado de ellos. Entonces, el problema de mucha gente es que abochorna el pecado público, pero tienen el de ellos escondido. ¡Hipócrita!
Yeah.
Wow.
Tienes que cambiar. Entonces, le dio la carta a Urías. Si hubiese sido yo, hubiese abierto la carta. Pero él no la abrió. Un hombre discreto, prudente, digno de admirar.
Yeah.
Entonces, envía la carta. Cuando se le entrega al capitán del ejército, sentencia de muerte. Se murió. Lo asesinaron a un hombre inocente.
Yep.
Entonces, ¿qué te digo? Dios lo castigó, ¿no? Él tuvo que pasar por su proceso, pero el reinado nunca se le fue quitado. Salomón, su hijo, nace, toma el reinado porque era cumplimiento divino de que debajo de los lomos de David estaría el reinado. Pero luego Salomón pecó, se acostó con 1000 mujeres y convirtió el palacio de santidad en un reino de idolatría. 1000 altares paganos para todas sus mujeres. Entonces Dios levantó a Jeroboam a través de un profeta llamado Ahías para decirle, Dios rompe el reinado. Pero escucha lo que te voy a decir, a ti te van a dar 10 tribus para que tú seas el rey de 10 tribus. Y preguntó él, ¿y qué pasará con las otras 2? ¿Cuáles son? Le dijeron Benjamín y Judá. ¿Por qué yo no tengo acceso a esas 2 tribus para reinarla? Y le dice el profeta, porque Dios le hizo un llamado a David y que independientemente de sus acciones, la palabra de Dios permanece y él seguirá siendo rey sobre Israel hasta que se cumple el tiempo. Entonces, si Dios te llamó a pastorear, a ministrar, oye, abraza esa palabra, restáurate, levántate, reivindícate y no comiences o no vuelvas a tropezar con el mismo error, porque obviamente aquí nadie es perfecto. Dios te bendiga.
Angel, last word.
No, para cerrar, para añadirle lo que dice el pastor, ¿verdad? Dios de Abraham, Dios de Isaac, Dios de Jacob. Abraham se acostó con su esclava, ¿verdad? Isaac dijo, no, esa no es mi esposa, esa es mi hermana. Y cuántas cosas hizo Jacob. Y Dios lo que estaba diciendo era, yo soy el Dios de hombres que cometieron errores.
Come on.
Y todavía los llamé.
That's good. Richie. That's good.
So this is the second time that I have verbally spoken about being divorced. You know, I mentioned it in a message that I preached at a youth camp. And actually I was supposed to be on a podcast before, and then just, you know, the topic was changed, and God showed me that I wasn't ready yet. You know, I had to prepare myself. So my one thing that I want to put out there first is prepare yourself mentally, emotionally to speak about this. You can't speak about this to everybody. Another thing is find yourself a covering that you could trust. Yes. Find yourself a pastoring that you could trust. Important. Not a pastor that only pastors you or what you could do on the altar, but what you can do off of it. Not the minister, but also the man. Right. And I've been blessed to be connected to a house in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Transformation Church, Lehigh Valley, where my pastors not only are pastors, but are professionals. My pastor, my female pastor, she is also a psychologist. and she's helped me out mentally with this. And the greatest words that she gave me wasn't on an altar, it was in her office. And she said, you didn't want this, but this is your reality. You can't run from your reality.
Right, embrace it.
This is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I didn't want it, but I've learned from it. And finally, I want to tell the camera, I am available to any young minister.
That's good.
Not even a young minister, any minister that's dealing with divorce. I may not have all the answers. I could forward you to somebody else that does. But get connected to somebody that can not only speak to you spiritually, but practically.
Right.
This is the practical things that you're going to do. These are the nights that you're going to deal with. These are the things you're going to deal with. But you are still called and chosen, by God. Get connected to people that are going to handle you with care, because obviously coming out of a situation like this, it's a very tough situation. And you can't be connected to just all the voices, So like I said, I'm available to any young minister that is dealing with this or on the verge of it. If we could stop it before it gets to it,
Come on.
Amen.
Let's make it happen. So I've made myself available.
¿Dónde ellos te pueden contactar?
My Instagram, I got _Richie Rivera Jr. I got a ministry page, RRJR Ministries. Also my apparel page, anywhere.
Yes.
If you want to hit up Pastor Fidel,
We're gonna link it up. We're gonna link it up in the.
But I told this to a young minister that we both know. Don't let it get there. If you could do everything before.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, it's a crappy situation that you do not want to be in. But if God allows it to get there, it doesn't stop there.
That's
Learn
right.
that today. It doesn't stop there.
You know what I admire? Fighters. I admire people that the world fought, try to beat them down, but they just got up.
That's,
and I want to say, I admire you, and I've said this to Pastor Angel because I look up to him. I told you the first time that we met, I look up to you because I know his story.
That's one of my models that I live by. It's like, I'd rather my biography say it got tough and I prevailed than it got hard and I quit.
And you quit.
Everybody quits. Quitters don't get recognized.
And I'm glad that you guys are still doing what God called you to do.
By the grace of God.
And not back down, not quit, not let whatever happen overcome you.
I guess here's the answer, right? There is life after divorce in ministry.
There is.
We're the living proof here.
And you know what? Because it stains in ministries. These stains are not removable in the eyes of men.
There we
Come
go.
on, I just about to say that. Yup.
In the eyes of men, these stains, not only divorce, but Pastor Messiah mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, other things.
They're removable.
La historia de David, el escritor pudo haberlo omitido y aparece en las páginas de la Biblia, hablando de que todos nosotros los ministros fallamos y venimos de lugares de imperfección.
And I really hope that this podcast has been a help for everyone who's going through this. Or if you know somebody, send it to them. Send it to them. From La Verdad Sin Filtro podcast, we thank you and we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome.
En el nombre de Jesús.
Yes.